Today, I am joined by Sarah, who is a refugee from Iraq. She is here to tell us her story and what life is like being an Iraqi refugee in Australia. So, Sarah, why did you decide to move to Australia? In 2014, Iraq was in conflict with the terrorist group ISIS. ISIS was violent and radical. Gunshots were fired at every house and bullets were shot towards people. ISIS wanted to create fear. There were airstrikes and massacres. I witnessed one of my neighbors being shot by a man spraying bullets. I thought I would also die that day. My hometown Mosul was no longer home, and I had no choice but to flee in hope for a better life. A stereotype that people have of refugees is that we want to leave our country because of overpopulation. However, this is untrue, as I was forced to flee my hometown due to war and persecution. I had no choice. I was fearing for my life in Iraq. I risked my life to cross borders to get to Australia, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to. Was it difficult getting here? The boat we were in was crowded, and we were travelling for more than a week. Once arriving in Australia, I was placed in a detention centre until I could be registered as a refugee. We received limited food and water and were stuck behind bars. My first impression of Australia was that I was not welcome, as I was treated like a prisoner. I suffered from depression, unable to contact my family back home. After 1 year of waiting, I was finally allowed to come into Australia, ready to start my life over again, learn a new language and a new culture. What you went through sounds terrible. I'm glad you were able to make it out alive. What was your life like when you arrived here in Australia? Adapting to a new culture was difficult, especially because people already had assumptions about me. One of the stereotypes that the media presented was that refugees from Iraq are criminals from ISIS. The media described us as radicals and terrorists, people to be fearful of. I am trying to escape the terrorists like everyone else. I am just as hurt and angry by their attacks. However, I feel like I am always trying to prove my innocence. When describing refugees in the media, words such as detainees, locked up, boat people, and immigrants were used. These negative perceptions seek to segregate refugees from Australians by reinforcing difference and creating fear. I am just an ordinary person like everyone else. Instead of seeing from our perspective and sympathizing with our hardship, people see us as a dangerous problem. When trying to find employment, I was labelled by others as a queue jumper and a threat. Some people thought I was stealing their jobs. I was educated back home and had the same qualifications, yet I was not regarded as worthy as those born in Australia. I was motivated to work and wanted to be financially independent. Were people accepting of your culture? Some people were not accepting of my culture. People often stare at me because I wear the hijab, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. People think men in Iraq are oppressive and make women wear it to take away their freedom. I wear the hijab not because it is a restriction and I have to, but for me it is a symbol of empowerment. I am showing that I am not ashamed of my religion and culture. It is a matter of faith and personal choice. How did the negative stereotypes from Australians in the media impact you? I feel offended when people associate me with terrorists and their violence. People had the belief that I was a criminal. Therefore, they felt they could not trust me. This led to people avoiding me because they were afraid that I might be violent toward them. As a result, I became isolated and found it difficult to make new friends here in Australia. I felt like I was an outsider and undesirable, someone who didn't belong. I found it difficult to get a qualified job because people think I'm not as hardworking and deserving as white Australians. I therefore found a low-paying cleaning job just to get by. I was not enjoying what I was doing and I became depressed. I came for a better life here in Australia, yet I feel like I am being discriminated against and oppressed. Stereotypes people already had of me made it very difficult to be accepted and adapt to a new culture. Thank you, Sarah, for giving us insight into life as an Iraqi refugee living in Australia. You're welcome.